Welcome back to the Innovation Series. I'm joined here today by Tobias Alibrot, the Executive Director of Idea Data Solutions. Tobias, thanks so much for being with us.
It's a pleasure, thanks.
I think there's been a lot of innovation and technological advancement on board super yachts, but I think sometimes a bit of a bottleneck is the data flow and the simplification of all of those streams that need to come to keep a vessel operating. What's been happening at Idea?
That's exactly which describes 20 years of history in Idea. Meanwhile, we started as a simple address database, and meanwhile we are, let's say, one of the more complex systems, let's say, inside the superyacht industry. And it's exactly what you said. We see increasing demand in software, and to be honest, I don't mind if you use Idea or one of the competitors. Nonetheless, I think every super yacht in a decent size needs something to control that, to make sure they have normal standards you would emphasize also in a company. Like if someone is let's say getting fired from the job, let's say how you proceed, let's say there must be procedures, and it's the same in a super yacht. And with keeping in mind, let's say, the cost for such an asset, it's even more important to have it sorted out well. And Excel files were definitely 2010. But meanwhile, you have integrated systems, which helps you to make sure that the crew is informed accordingly. Like, for instance, purchasing spare parts, purchasing parts for the office departments, managing budgets. It's more like a company, meanwhile, and this company is getting more cost effective. And I think this is a trend we're seeing, and we also see a trend in managing these things in a more appropriate, handy way over the course of the last years. So yeah, it is still a threat, and it's still interesting to see what happens.
I have some horrible memories of by hand going through the inventories in the bilge, and like you say, sometimes throwing away expensive pieces of kit purely because they were lost in the system. And it's like a business. It's like a warehouse, a business, all these things at once, and you really need some way of regulating it and keeping tabs on everything.
Exactly, and I think it is your duty. If you are a crew and a professional crew, and they'd like to be professional, then you have to handle it in a professional way. And that means, similar to any warehouse in a decent company, you have to store it accordingly.
With the crew, I think you have very highly trained officers and engineers, especially, who spend a large amount of their time going over analog paperwork and double checking things, and not an efficient use of time.
No, not at all. But like for instance, take Idea. Let's say, but we have now, let's say, the last service we implement, because we realize the customers, let's say, demanding that, is a service which just checks their spare part, their maintenance intervals on, like for instance, has every component on board a maintenance interval. Because if it's not maintenance like the original maintenance, like changing an oil filter, it's at least to check, is it still there? Is it still in an appropriate condition? Do we have to do something? So everything on board has to be checked. How you'd like to make this sure, let's say, was just an Excel sheet, or how you'd like to make sure that everything which is related to an hour counter is also tracked by an hour counter. And these are the things, let's say, automated software, let's say, these are the tools automated software gives you in hand to make sure that you can do a proper job, because you have the assistance to control an environment which is as complex as a super yacht.
And this would lead then to more efficient predictive maintenance.
Yeah, predictive maintenance is even possible. I think the lack of let's say predictive maintenance, yeah, that's like condition-based maintenance is sometimes possible. And the point is why it is not really going through this industry, because it can save money, is that a super yacht has a special need, and it is, let's say, to be able to do everything the owner wants when the owner arrives. Mm-hmm. So that means a normal super yacht is normally more maintained as a normal vessel, which is for a corporation, because a corporation accepts that a vessel is not running because of maintenance. The owner will never accept that. Therefore, let's say it's more properly meant and more properly maintained as a commercial vessel normally.
And I think also lifting the standards that we hold other industries to, we apply to superyachts, such as the aviation industry.
Yeah, it's meanwhile similar to the aviation industry. Let's say aviation industries they do normally these A, B, C, D checks, and they define what should be in an A, B, C, D check, and then you maintain, let's say, at least in the D check, everything. It's still a little bit difficult on a super yacht to maintain everything and build out everything, so it's more done on a continuous base. But let's say we're professional-wise on some of the yachts I've seen, definitely on a level like for an airplane, yeah.
And with the increase in connectivity and it gives us the platform to really kind of lift the standards across the industry.
That's a good point. Let's say, we see an emergent trend in fleet management, and the fleet management means it's not that, let's say, a manager from shore base takes over, let's say, and gives you instructions what to do, but you assist, let's say, in your daily task. Like, for instance, ordering your spare parts. That wasn't possible, let's say, since 2010. Why? Because, let's say, transferring the database on a normal day, let's say, was sometimes difficult. But meanwhile, we have super yachts replicating their database every 3 hours to an online tool, and then the crew, which is sitting outside, let's say, either from the crew office or from the management company, or also for the owner's office, and they are maintaining, let's say, tasks like managing budgets, getting spare parts quote, getting other things done which are necessary for the ship to make sure that everything is on board when they need it.
Sure. Well, I think that from what you've explained, having a system in place like IDEA, with the increased connectivity, really allows you to have a full understanding of exactly what's on board, exactly what needs to happen, and allows that efficient kind of operation of a vessel.
Yeah, that's true. And we're continuously working on this efficiency. Surely it's not easy. Keep in mind, let's say, we're trying since 20 years to bring a professional solution to a customer. As said, the industry is getting more complex. As said, let's say, think about, let's say, boats, let's say, with 80 crew on board, let's say in 2000, 2010. Let's say quite seldom. Meanwhile, we have more than that. And getting the exact thing we need, let's say, on the boat where we need is sometimes a little bit difficult, because we have to make sure that every customer, even 15 years ago, let's say, can now update to the latest version. We never let a customer alone, and we won't let a customer alone in the future. Therefore, let's say, we're sometimes not as fast as we'd like to, but we can guarantee the next 20 years that you'll have the right software on board, and we're continuously developing on that. Every 3.8 years, we completely renew the software due to changing in operating systems and into browsers and into different other systems. The next generation is nearly there, and we're already planning the next generation just to make sure that in 5 years from now, the tools you're using now on the boat are still in use, let's say, on your boat, and you never lose any data.
I can already feel some of the stress dropping away from my experience on board in the last 10 years. So, Tobias, thanks so much for being with us on the Innovate series. That was really fascinating, and we look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Looking forward.